Yes, my name's Mike Sladen from Transition Rye. Underlying an awful lot of what was shown this morning, with some excellent presentation, was the economic case for any set of innovations. And what many of us really need is reasonable access to modelling without a consultant attached to it at an extraordinary amount per hour, so that we can do the 80% case to know what the hell we're talking about.
Okay. Anybody want to have a quick go at answering that? I feel like asking a consultant. Nick. Philip, sorry.
We discussed this a bit earlier. I just had a few scribbles and thoughts about what such a model might look like. On the one hand, taking into account all the strategies that one employs as one's designing a sustainable business park, maybe assessing that by program or other systems or other assessment methods, feeding into a computer model which is fed or informed by theory data, and then balancing that with the financial assessment of the development vis-a-vis a development's perspective, i.e. capital costs, project costs, funding sources, demand, particularly demand, rental income streams, etc. Out of that, we imagine the assessment or prediction and potentially an outline brief could emerge to probably feed back on a self-feed loop to the targets and aspirations. And if somebody could patent that, it'd probably be pretty clear.
Absolutely. So the question, invite all to give a question? Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Oh, hi. My name's Richard Watson from Positive Energy. There were two dates mentioned, 1066 and 2066 earlier, but there's one that I heard recently, which is 2026, where there's a statistic that blew my mind. Over 60% of the population of East Sussex will be over 85 by 2026. I think the current percentage is 27, and for the rest of the UK it's 20. And I just wondered whether, the other partners in Belgium and northern France had the same issue of a retiring population moving to the coast. And I wondered if the design of buildings and workplaces takes into account the fact that this generation, who will have rubbish pensions and will see rising energy prices, will probably be working, and whether the buildings take that really significant demographic change into account.
It's a very, very provocative, great question. Anyway, I see you nodding there. Is that something you'd like to respond to that?
Well, I can say a little.
Okay.
Well, I guess every coastal area has the same problem. We in Belgium, we call the whole coastal area, the 67 kilometers we have, it's one city. And it's becoming, well, the people from inland, from Brussels, from Ghent, the elderly people who have their pension, they go there. But I guess the people who can't afford a second place there are mostly those who have a better pension than the rubbish pension. Yeah, and are the buildings adapted? Well, the ones who were put there 30 years ago, I don't think so. And now buildings have to well, there are regulations, and I guess the buildings that are put now are strictly following those regulations. So if we make them, those regulations, more hard, then the buildings become more sustainable. But it's a way of having the governments doing something about that. Yeah, but that's my opinion.
Okay, great. Another question? Yeah, please. Thank you. So we came well equipped with microphones to this event.
Most of you on the panel, so I'm Glyn Castle from Hastings Borough Council. Most of you have got dealings with business managers, directors, people who lead businesses, and have had over a period of time. My question is whether you're noticing any change of attitude whereby there is less resistance and more responsiveness to this agenda, and whether that's coming from broader input from culture and society and television and so on, or whether it's driven by cost projections. I'm just trying to get a sense of what has been for many decades a very hard struggle, whether it's going to carry on being a very hard struggle to get people to think automatically about these issues, or whether that struggle is becoming easier. And I'd also like to see if there's any sense of a comparison between the changes in the pace of change in the UK compared with the pace of change in Belgium and France, although I accept that's a harder question to answer. Maybe we might have an answer for that in 2 years' time at the end of the ACE project.
Great question. Any volunteers? Thanks.
I can make a comment from as far as the businesses and areas that I'm working with, and you know what's evident is that it's the cost drivers and cost projections which are the key drivers, and from that, in many cases, the sustainable way in which the fact that it also makes a business more sustainable is also an important driver. So, for example, we're starting to see whole areas marketing themselves as sustainable areas, which does attract business, but only if through being there, so reduce their costs.
John? Yeah.
Also, I think it's down to clients to drive this as well. So if you're a council or a large corporate, you're putting out lots of contracts, you should demand environmental compliance, and that forces the big companies to adopt that sort of approach, whether it's an ISO approach or whatever. There is a danger it kind of excludes the smaller companies, but they'll probably be subcontracted to work out anyway, so they're not doing it. It's making sure that the big corporates are taking that responsibility by proving their environmental worth through accreditation or the like. So I'm seeing more people having to address it, otherwise they're going to miss out on the tender process, especially if you want to go on a framework agreement, sort of for, especially with councils and the like. It's going to be, yeah, it would be foolish for them not to adopt that environmental approach. I don't care if they're cynical about it, it still gets us to our carbon savings through a bottom line approach.
Fantastic. Ewan?
Well, my impression in Belgium is that there are some bigger businesses who see the benefit of branding this eco-innovation. Like we have a big company, it's called Colruyt, and they make a brand of ecology already since 30 years, I guess. It's really a part of their business, and they promote it. Everyone in Belgium knows that Colruyt does that. So I think the bigger businesses are really seeing the benefit of it. What our problem is sometimes we develop sometimes very small business parks, less than 5 hectares, and then we have one-man businesses, I don't know how you call it in England, and they are not really aware about these things. And that's part of our part in this project, so that we go and talk to them to make them aware of what's happening and how they can do something. And well, the experience is when you start talking about it, then there is interest, and then they start calculating, of course. That's also important, the cost benefit. We have to show them how they benefit from being more ecological.
Quick last response.
Quite an interesting example of that. We're dealing at the moment for a coating factories in Lewis, and trying to relocate from one big site industrial park in Lewis to a smaller site across the river, to Mine Brooks. They have been established for years and years and years. One of their key clients is Body Shop, and they said to us that they have to and they're obligated to demonstrate sustainable measures within their building and renewable technologies, otherwise they lose that contract. And that's a good example of how that's feeding down into the supply chains.
Great. Okay, that's fantastic. Right, I'm just going to ask, because we've obviously set some big challenges for us here, so I just want to ask each of our speakers to say very quickly what they think their biggest challenge is going to be for the ACE programme. Okay? Is that okay? Yeah? You do that? Yeah? We'll come up with solutions this afternoon, you see. Leaving with a real competitive idea. John, do you want to do a second? Who's ready for it? Who's got one in the top of their heads?
It's a good question. I think it's about making sure that the dissemination of the information, you're going to gather a lot of really valuable data, and it will be replicable beyond the sort of business part development. You'll be getting really useful insights. How do you get that information out there so that it's not a standalone project, but it's a feeder for many more enterprises? So it's not doing the period, but how are you going to take it forward beyond that?
Fantastic, thank you. Pass on. Yeah, I thought you mentioned data.
I wish I could come up with something different to that, but I agree. It's sort of getting it out there, and it's promotion of discussion, and it's interesting what you have here today, and talking about Skype and Twitter, and using those modes of communication, and hopefully people will buy into that and talk about it, and it'll snowball from there.
Brilliant, thank you.
I think it's the first question is about seeking that holy grail, the modelling data that we can use to balance all the huge variety of variables that go into the equation of promoting sustainable development.
Fantastic.
I think one of the areas which is always really difficult is being able to reach and engage with the small and medium enterprises, so many of which are so tightly resourced that they often don't have an opportunity to get engaged, but who could benefit tremendously from looking at some of these opportunities.
Go back to the framework point of view as well, yeah. Right.
Well, I guess our challenge, I already talked about it in my introduction, it's really how can we make those business parks more, greener, but on the same side also, on the other hand, finding the businesses for that business park. It still needs to remain, we must sell our plots at a competitive price to attract businesses, so that's really two parts of the medal.
Brilliant, thanks, Ian.
I think everyone's saying it's down to communication. I think that's the key, isn't it? Communicating what's achieved. There'll be some technically quite complex areas coming out of this, but in order to communicate it well to businesses, we've got to get the lowest common denominator. We're not even succeeding at that at the moment. So let's make it simple. Let's make it simple for business managers to grasp the metal. Let's make the financial business cases and the modelling simple. There are so many things that we can drive very quickly. If we can make it simple and get it out there, then that will make the biggest difference, I think.
Fantastic.